Seems like forever since we've been together. Oh God, I miss you bad. And I read your letters and look at your pictures. Oh God, I miss you so bad. It's been so long, I know, but I'm finally coming home. Till then I'm dreaming of your heart, your eyes, our love. Darling, I can't wait till I see your face. Oh God, I miss you bad. The only thing I need is you beside me. Oh God, I miss you so bad. It's been so long, I know, but I'm finally coming home. Till then I'm dreaming of your heart, your eyes, our love. Your heart, your eyes, our love. It's been so long, I know, but I'm finally coming home. Till then I'm dreaming of your heart, your eyes, our love.
I'm gonna get myself a modem. 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 I'm gonna get myself a modem.
All right, hello. It is Friday, Interview Friday. So great to be here. I've got some great guests today. They are a couple of the makers of a movie called Voodoo Macbeth that we're going to talk about, which is super fun. I have a hard time saying Macbeth because, you know, I grew up in the theater and we just don't say that. But since this is a show and I'm not in the theater right now, I think it's okay. Had a great show last night at the Federal in North Hollywood. Thanks to everybody who came out. Super fun. I was on the stage with Vargas Mason, hilarious comedian. Sally Mullins was hosting, so that was great. And it was great to see everybody who came out. Howard Aronin, Jose Salas, Jenny Sykes, Kamala Lopez, my friends Logan, Laura, Romaldo, Gloria, Brandy, Micah. Super fun, super fun. Thank you all that came out. There's Howard there. Friday. Yes, on the show we say Friday. We don't say Friday. I don't know why. Probably because we say hoy and we don't say hi. It's a weird show. Can't believe how much you're saying Macbeth. Yes, Guignel used to say good luck Macbeth as I went off to the theater when we were in college. So that was really nice of him. Okay, so we're here. We've got the healing vibrations behind us. That's always good. Helps us calm down. The bells. Oh, the bells. It's good for your tinnitus, I believe, but I will lower it a little bit. Oh, good. I'm glad you're not having a migraine today. All right, so I'm going to take in a deep breath. Let's do this thing. In through the nose, out through the toes. All right, I can hear my guests breathing in the green room. Let it go. In through the nose, out through the toes. Yeah, hold it. The breathing part of the show is not optional. It's part of the therapy. Let it go. Did you remember to bring your nuts to the D's Nuts show? Yes, I did. Can we see the live video? Hoy. There's 10-Minute Memoir. That's Jeff Lohman. He has a show called 10-Minute Memoir. It's a channel, YouTube channel. Check it out. He's been on the show multiple times, and great stories there at that channel. So let's get in with this because we've got an interview today. I'm going to show you a trailer. I do want to announce on Tuesday we're going to have a very interesting guest, a ride-along guest. His name is Mike McFarland. He's known as the Heavy Metal Dad, so that should be really fun. He's a comedian. That looks like the Northwest. Yes, that is the Northwest. Todd, healing vibrations are in the Northwest, so there you have it. All right, let's get on with the show. It's Interview Friday. So, the guests today are Jason Lee Phillips and Jewell Wilson Bridges. Jason is a producer and a director. He went to USC. He was produced this film, Voodoo Macbeth, which we're going to talk about soon. And then Jewell Wilson Bridges, up-and-coming, heavy-hitter actor, plays Orson Welles in the picture. I'm going to show you the trailer here soon. This is Interview Friday.
Houseman came to the studio today.
And what did they want?
They wanted me to direct the Negro Theatre Unit's production of the Scottish play.
Macbeth?
If I'm going to direct, it needs to be something that will put me on the map.
Orson Welles, meet Rose McClendon.
The play is set in 19th century Haiti, not with witchcraft, with voodoo.
Voodoo?
In some circles, a red tie has a certain meaning.
What's that?
He hired a white set designer and his wife as the producer.
I have no limits. That's why you hired me. Jungle drums, din of the jungle canopy, voodoo spirits conjuring powers beyond imagination.
I can assure you, that monstrosity will never see opening night.
There are protesters outside right now who want us to fail.
I'm tired of being nothing but a furnishing to you.
Our leading man has disappeared.
He has been detained by immigration.
The New Deal funds American theater, not this dark, commie, witchy mumbo-jumbo that you call voodoo.
You don't know anything about sacrifice when you have to give up for your art.
Let's take a break, everyone.
No, we're gonna do it again and again until we get it right.
Orson.
Read a review that play was an abomination.
Clearly, you haven't seen the play.
Why'd you say that? Because if you had, you wouldn't have felt the need to pay me.
Damn be he who cries. Enough.
It's not too late to fix this.
I'm not sure I know how.
All right, Chair of Voodoo Macbeth, welcome to the
Hello,
show.
everyone. Thank you so much. I feel so good after that breathing. I was back there like,
Oh, I heard it's so good of
exactly
you to
what I
breathe.
needed.
It's good, you know. Do you breathe on a daily basis? You try and
You
take
know,
some
I
oxygen
do.
in?
Yeah, I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of meditation, but I didn't this morning, so it felt great to kind of like
Okay.
breathe through it.
Yeah, we
So.
love it around here. This movie, I was lucky enough to see this movie because you allowed me to check out the secure screener. And it is just a remarkable film. I'm geeking out because I'm a big fan of the Federal Theater Project, weirdly enough. So let me just give a little bit of information about that. The Federal Theater Project was part of the Works Progress Administration in 1935. FDR had the plan to get us out of the Depression, which was called the Works Progress Administration, and he was paying a lot of people. The United States was paying a lot of people to work and rebuild roads and infrastructure, but he also came up with this thing called the Federal Theater Project. It was headed by Allie Flanagan, who was a woman who was a person at Vassar, she headed all these productions that happened all over the United States. And the thing that was cool about it is the productions didn't have to make money. And they were just purely artistic and also very political. And they employed about 15,000 theater professionals across the United States. And this is a movie about one of those productions.
Woo!
So cool. It's so cool. And
Yeah.
there's this famous one called Voodoo Macbeth that happens to be directed by Orson Welles. So tell me, how did this project come about? It's an extensive thing. It's a USC production. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a unique project where we have 10 directors and 8 writers, which is very abnormal for a feature. So about every 10 minutes in this movie, you'll get a new director. And so on some shoot days, we would have like up to 8 directors in a shooting day where each director would come for 45 minutes and we would switch, which is kind of like a really unique way of shooting. So what this was designed for is USC has this class called 477, which brings the top 10 graduate students directing and writing, and they get the writers to write a feature in one semester, and then the next semester they direct, and then they bring past alumni onto the project to kind of make the feature come to life. So each of the department heads is one per person, like a regular feature would be. And so it's supposed to serve as a launching pad for the top that USC has to offer into the real world, to give themselves an independent feature, as well as learn the ultimate exercise in collaboration. So this is the 7th iteration of the USC feature film. And it kind of came together in a unique way. So the head of the class, John Watson, he was talking to another professor at USC, and the professor said, "Have you heard about Voodoo Macbeth?" And he said, "I haven't." And then he started reading about it. And like all of us, when we kind of came to the project, we thought to ourselves, how have we never heard of this story? Why has nothing been done about this?
What a great story.
And so, yeah. And then he brought these writers in. They did so much research to come together, and they just started going for it and throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what narrative stuck with it.
Did they have like a writer's
we were-
room, like in TV or something?
Yeah.
Is that basically how they did it?
Yes, they did about 6 months of a writer's room together. And they would write scenes, people would then take them, rewrite them. It was a very collaborative process in the writing area too. And then the producers kind of came on a little bit towards the end of the writing process. We gave all our notes, we started working with the writers, then we brought the directors on. And then 3 months later, after the script was written, we were in production shooting for 25 days. So it was a pretty crazy fast
25 days.
process. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, we shot for 25 days.
And at USC, did they teach film structure, a particular kind of film structure?
You mean for like screenplay?
Yeah, for writing a screenplay.
Yeah, I mean, different professors have their own ideas of the way structures should be taught. But
Yeah.
traditionally, it's the 3-act structure, just pretty simple like that. I mean, the Voodoo Macbeth really follows a 3-act structure with it throughout, with Orson's journey and Rose's journey. But it was really fun to kind of bring the movie together. And what's
How
also fun about
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
How accurate is it to history, or do they take liberties? I mean, it's a very dramatic story. There's a lot of twists and
Yeah.
turns. There's a
Yeah.
lot to be told. Yeah, tell me about the history of it and how
Yeah,
you
so,
meld the two.
with every biopic, you're always gonna take some liberties just because it's a movie, and you do have to enhance some dramatic elements.
Yeah.
But one of the big things we tried to do was make sure that the choices that each of the characters were making were reflected, if not in this specific moment period of time, that the rest of their life came into this film. So we stayed true to who the people were, and generally throughout the production, we stayed true as well. Obviously, there are some personal details that while a movie's play is being born, we don't always know what every actor was feeling in every specific moment, but we tried to stay true to the character of each person, and really shed light on this amazing performance and on all these amazing actors that made this Harlem production come to life in the 30s. It's quite extraordinary.
Yes, and they basically came to Orson Welles with the project, right? Orson Welles wasn't even a director per se; he was like a voiceover guy. What?
Yeah,
Why do you
exactly.
think they came to him? Was he just? I mean, obviously, Orson Welles has that famous quote where he says he started at the top and worked really hard to get to the bottom. And I mean, was he just? Do you think he was just known as somebody who was extremely talented or something that they went and found him?
He had done Shakespeare before.
Yeah.
I believe he had directed a couple plays before. Jewell can speak a lot more towards
Yeah.
Orson's history because, Jewell did a lot
Yeah.
of
It's gonna
interesting
be
research
interesting.
there. Yeah, Jewell's amazing. You guys are all gonna be in for a huge treat in a little bit. But, and John Houseman knew, Orson before and had worked with him before. So that's kind of how he was brought to the project.
Interesting. Okay. How do you cast something when there's so many directors? Must be impossible.
Yeah, that is a great question. It is a lot of conversations, a lot of dialogue. We'd be sitting in rooms for hours just like debating and choosing and like watching different tapes. And, at a certain point, the 3 producers and John had to be like, nope, this is the choice. I produced with Miles and Ivy as well. And we had to be like, okay, no, we have to keep moving forward. We are not all going to get who we love. And in different ways. I mean, I think at the end of the day, all of us were thrilled with our cast. We have such an incredible cast, and I think we made the right choices on every oh, sorry, I was looking at the comment. We made the
He's
right
doing a
choices.
comment on Orson Welles. That's the one thing about the chat room. It's distracting. And we wouldn't drink wine before it's time. We grew up where there was a commercial with Orson Welles where he said, he doesn't drink a wine before it's time.
Oh.
Maybe it's all the time that's what brought him down.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so yeah, I mean, it was a lot of like you had to just work together to find the right combination.
Were there people fighting? Did people fight on this thing? Because it seems like all these people trying to direct, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like a recipe for disaster.
I will always say that we had such an amazing experience. Were there some tense moments and some moments of conflict? Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone on the production would say that they didn't experience some moments like that. But I mean, it's all because we loved the movie so much. So at the end of the day, nothing was ever personal between all of us. It was just like, this is the vision that I see. And then what's great about that is when you have people fighting for the vision that they see, you eventually arrive at the collective vision where you're like, yes, you were right. That's the right move. Or, I was right. Thank you. So it was a bunch of ebbing and flowing together in collaboration. So I'm very grateful with the people we had the chance to work with. I mean, the directors, Dag, Victor, Roy, Hannah, Chris, Agazi, Tiffany, Zoe, Ernesto, and Sabina, all were such a collective unit. I love saying their names all together because we
That was pretty good. That was pretty amazing.
Crazy.
Did they each take a scene, or how did it work? Like you said, there would be like 8 directors in one day because they were like shooting a whole bunch of scenes. Did they shoot them simultaneously? Yeah. Did they, what was this like? I mean,
yeah. So about every 10 pages of the script, we would chop it and say, Director 1, Director 2. And then they all say which one they want to direct. And then John, the coordinator at USC, would assign the different directors, the different sections. And that's just kind of how it works. Then we shoot it like a regular feature. So, the reason we would have 8 directors in one day is we're shooting all exterior scenes on the Warner Brothers backlot. And they're all like 1/8, 2/8 of a page of like Orson walking into a bar, or Rose and Houseman walking on the street. And so you just have to kind of continually switch directors.
Were there directors that were like, no, I don't want that section. I want this other section. They were like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's some directors who are like, oh man, that wasn't the one that I wanted. But again, once you like sit down with it and you read, every part of the script had so many rich elements that I think everyone found their own home in their section. And at a certain point, it's like, that's what it is.
Can you see the style of the different directors in each thing? Does it come across, or is there anything that's drastically different? I noticed it seemed very cohesive, like almost like it was one person's vision. But
so we hope that you never see the different directors' styles. That's obviously the goal. So the way we do that is in the first 4 weeks of pre-production, every director will go out on their own and shoot like a test sample of their 10 pages. So they'll get their friends together, they'll shoot it in their apartment or their house and just shoot what they're imagining the style to look like. Then we'll watch the movie from start to finish and we'll be like, okay, whoa, director 8, you are making Requiem for a Dream. Director 1, you are making The Post. Like, like we would see those like crazy sides to it. And then we'd be like, okay, how do we meet in the middle of this? And so that served as a really important tool for us to get on the same page and have the right cinematic language between each other. And so we really do hope that at the end of the day, people watch this movie and when they see the director credit and they see 10 names, they're like, oh, whoa, that's crazy.
Whoa, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Do you think the actors are cast from just the pool of actors in Los Angeles, right? Or the world, essentially. It's not like USC students or something like that, right?
Yeah. Wow. So with the casting process, we had an amazing casting director, Tracy Twinkie Bird, and she really did a lot of amazing work.
Wait a minute, her name's Tracy Twinkie Bird?
Yeah, Tracy Twinkie Bird.
That's
she
cool
goes
name.
by Twinkie.
That's cool.
Yeah, she's
like it.
The best. She did Fruitvale Station. She's done a lot of really amazing movies.
Yeah.
But so she brought a lot of amazing actors into the room. And one thing that was really important for us when we had these different actors coming in is who's done theater before, because this is about a theater show, and we wanted to make sure that we had actors that could do the Shakespeare, but also knew what it was like to be building a theater production, because that's pretty important. So a lot of the actors in this movie are actually theater-based actors originally, which I think brings such a rich texture to a period piece as well in a unique way. So the casting was quite extensive. I think Jewell was cast with only 2 weeks before he was to go on screen.
Really?
So his research was truncated.
2 weeks? Why?
Yeah, he had 2 weeks.
Why?
I know. I called him and I was like, "Oh, wait, would you say why?"
Yeah, why? He's in like every scene.
That's just the time that we had. We had to like really look and search and do a lot of chemistry reads, and so I remember 2 weeks before I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, thankfully we have Jewell. Like, he can do it. And I called Jewell and I'm like, "Hey, you got the role." And he was like so excited. And I made a joke. I was like, "Start eating as much as you want." And he was like, "Okay, we only have 2 weeks. Let's not go crazy here. Like, calm down." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." So, but I mean, what an actor he is. I mean, Inger and Jewell and June and Jeremy.
Oh my god, yeah.
We were so blessed to have actors that really took these characters, did the research, but also found such humanity in all of them that made them, you care about them and really want to participate on their journeys. So I feel incredibly fortunate to have worked with everyone in our cast.
Yeah. So, I'm going to bring on Jewell now, and then we'll all three be on later on. So I'm going to bring him on, see what he has to say. All right. We'll see you soon. Okay, Jewell, there he is. All right, I'm going to get some applause here. Hey!
Stop.
Yeah, I know. It's just too much, isn't it? Jewell, you and I have kind of the same first name. We just spell it differently. Yeah.
I get a lot of Jewels.
a lot of people hear my name and they think there's an S on the end because that's more
Really,
common.
Jules?
Yeah. Do people
No,
speak your name?
they tend to say Josh. I don't know why. Like people that I meet and then I meet them later, they're like, "Oh, there's Josh." I think people keep that name.
Generic J name that just sticks in my mouth a little bit easier. Sure.
Yeah, but people probably don't forget your name, Jewell. I mean, how'd you get the name Jewell?
It's my grandfather's.
Oh, it is. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we called him Daddy Jewell. It doesn't get more southern than that. So I grew up.
You're from Kentucky,
so.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That's cool. So, I mean, when you got the part of Orson Welles, I mean, this is what maybe your first lead in a feature film, right? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
How was that daunting? You had 2 weeks to prepare. Was that were you just like, what the hell? How am I going to do this?
You know, it wasn't daunting because I only had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So when you have such a short time before you're going to jump into production, for me as an actor, it really freed me up.
Really? And
I also knew that 2 weeks is not enough time to create any kind of physical transformation. Because if you look at Orson physically, not just like later in life, but when he was younger, he had like a fuller face, a little bit more rounded. Like he's definitely taller. So for me, it freed me up from creating the physical, recreating the physical illusion of him. I wasn't going to be able to do that. So instead, I just focused on his psychology, what I knew about him up to that point, his like very essence and his spirit. And that's what I focused on throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
In fact, I think when it came down to it, the last two people that were up for it, it was me and another guy. And the other guy looked more like Orson. But I captured his like essence. And at the end of the day, I think that's what's most important. So long-windedly, it freed me up and allowed me just to play.
What do you think you did that set you apart from the other actors?
I think from talking to Jason when he saw my initial self-tape, it was one scene. There's a scene in the movie where Orson is fully in his ego and is not collaborating and is just bullying his cast and be like, not good enough, go, push. That scene is, when you look at it in the film, that's pretty much what I did for my self-tape. And that was my in for the character. And for me, I knew that it wasn't personal and it wasn't vindictive and it wasn't malicious. That when you are an artist and you are a creative, sometimes, especially when you're a young creative, you get so captivated and so caught up in whatever your artistic vision is that you start looking at people like paint or paintbrushes or canvases. You stop realizing that they're human beings. And especially when you're young like that, you maybe don't know yet how to collaborate, how to communicate in a way that just wants everybody else to slap you in the face. So for me, that scene was very critical for me to get into his headspace.
Yeah. He also seemed like he was a kind of an all-consuming person. You know, even in Citizen Kane, when you see him eating, and I know he's a character in the thing, but you kind of get an essence of what he's about. And when he eats, you know, he got very large later on in life, and we were all kind of knew him as that. But he seemed to be a voracious eater of life. And did you feel that way? Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah. In my research, the crazy, because most people I think know about him in his later years and his accomplishments and his personality. But even at 16, he had chutzpah. His Shakespeare career started overseas. He's like in London. I think he's in Ireland somewhere. And he decides he's going to be an actor. And he goes up to this well-established Shakespeare company, bullshits his resume, says, "Oh, I have all this experience and I'm this amazing actor." And the directors, the production people of this Shakespeare company, they could smell his bullshit, but they were so entranced by his charisma and the fact that he had the balls to try as like a kid to come up and pass this all off. So they're like, "Sure, we'll give you an audition," and he nailed it. He blew them away. So by the time he was directing this production, He was in his early 20s, and he was he's young. He's like 19. He's a kid, but he had already had a huge career on Broadway. He was known as being a Shakespeare actor.
He was making $1,000 a week or something doing voiceovers, which was an extraordinary amount of money at the time.
He had already worked with John Houseman as a producer on one of those productions. So he already had a relationship with the main producer behind this production, who brought him in because he knew that Orson was interested in directing. He was starting to direct radio plays, and he knew that having Orson connected to the project would give it a name, and give it a legitimacy in the Shakespeare world. Orson was not a stranger when he came to it. But the fact that he had that kind of career within a matter of 3 years really tells you that even as a kid, he was that force.
What do you think it was about the movie, about the play, that kind of in the middle of the movie, it starts to turn to something great, whereas in the beginning, it was like a mess? Do you think, what turns that for Orson? Does his ego get out of the way of these people who are putting on this play, or what do you think it is that made that shift?
He gives it back to his cast, and he gives the story back to the community for whence it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Because
he sort of was an outsider, just kind of bullishly. There's even a part where he puts on blackface and tries to perform Macbeth, which is just like unbelievable, especially in this day. We're just like, oh my God. He was just like, his oppression.
It was atrocious at the time period, but something to keep in mind is that so many actors and so many people were doing that. You can still go back and you can see all of these actors in film to this day. He played Othello.
Yeah.
And even on the tour of this production, he did go on for one of the actors and did that makeup, which is horrible. But I think it was important for when we were telling this story to not gloss over that ugliness. Yeah. It was important for it to be part of the story, and the fact that Orson does not come back from that. Like, he never gets, the only way he can get the production back on its feet is by completely getting out of its way and relinquishing it back to the community and the cast and empowering them. So it's a lesson of collaboration. It's also a lesson of don't come in as a white director and trying to own this community and make it your own. He needed to empower them and give it back.
That's cool. I'm gonna bring Jason back on, and we'll have all three of us here, and we can talk a little bit more about this. Here he is. He's back. Yes. Woo! Woo! I always have a little bit of cheering going on because super timely. Yeah. What do you think about the timeliness of this film, and the things that are going on in the world right now? Because obviously it's a little bit, it's hard to even portray, I'm sure, some of this stuff that goes on because it's so incorrect at this point. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we approached this movie of telling a 1936 period piece through a 2021 lens. That was always what we talked about with the directors and with the writers and with the actors and with, all the departments. Is we weren't trying to justify it with the time period, because what was happening with Orson going on in blackface is wrong and is terrible. And so we weren't ever trying to be like, oh, at the time he did this. Like that wasn't our intention in making it. It is a really timely piece. I mean, I think we just need more stories like this. I mean, there's so many stories throughout history and period pieces that haven't been told because they've been deemed other and not commercial. And that's wrong. I mean, this movie ends in the credits with the actual production. And the reason we did that during the credit sequence is because this movie is about the people that made this show. Yes, Orson is the lead, and that's the lens you see most of this movie through. But what this really is trying to do is shed light on the actors, the Harlem actors, and the Black theater community back then that was making this production. And they are the ones that made this so magical.
Here's a picture from the actual production.
Oh, God.
So basically, it's Macbeth set in Haiti. And this was the vision, I guess, of Orson Welles. I mean, he just decided that he was going to do this. And then there you can watch at the end of the movie, and also on the archives on the website of the National Archives, you can actually watch scenes from this play. How much did you feel the responsibility to recreate the play as it was performed, and how did you achieve that?
That's a great question. So we did feel a good amount of responsibility to do the best we could do to present the show how it was done. You know, with both the production designer Maren Jensen and the costume designer Naomi Wolf-Lochter, we had a lot of conversations and looking through the photos of like, okay, how can we recreate this? We had to be very mindful of budget. We're working with a very small amount, and so obviously we couldn't do what they did in their whole production because just we didn't have those types of resources. But we did stay very true to the color palette, the looks, and tried to get as close as possible to the actual production. I mean, when you see the footage at the end, you see that structure that was built on that stage. It's pretty similar to the one we have. We changed it a little bit just out of our own creative taste, but yeah, we're always thinking and looking back at the references. I mean, it is really, I mean, if you guys ever get a chance to work with Maren Jensen and Naomi, both the production and costume designer respectively, their amount of research they did to get into this was insane. You'd go on set and you'd see their boards all around where they just said all these real pictures, and you really felt like you were stepping into the 1930s world. It was truly extraordinary. I also want to shout out one person who couldn't be here with us today, but Inger Tudor, who plays Rose McClendon. She really carried so much of this movie with Jewell. She's an incredibly talented actress.
She was going to be here with us today, but we just were not able to get her with schedule-wise. But just what a great performance, and she's just an incredible actress. There's some great actors in this. You really, you know, even though you cast by committee, apparently, you really did a great job of casting some wonderful actors. What was it like to work with Inger?
Gosh. Outstanding. That is like for me, that was the heart. That relationship is the real heart of the story. If it wasn't for our relationship, I don't think that you could go on the journey that Orson takes you on and like him. I think that relationship is very key for so much. But also, Inger is such a power and a force, a huge heart, incredible with the Shakespeare. The fact that we had a cast that was so incredible, but her Lady M speech within the movie is just breathtaking.
And it kind of has to be. It has to be plot-wise, too. And that's why it's very important to make sure that you had people that could really handle it. Obviously, she's got this incredible pedigree here. You can see some of the credits that she's done in some of the great theaters of the United States. So that was a huge plus, because if you had people that couldn't handle the language, like maybe movie actors or something that maybe had not done very much. So that was a great move, I think, to hire a lot of theater training. I mean, also, you, Jewell, you're a regional theater person as well, right?
Yeah, most of my background is music theater back in New York. That's what I did for a long time. When I came out here to LA, I was able to get cast in this, which was such a wonderful merging of the two worlds for me. It was both a theater medium and a film medium. So for me, stepping into Orson's shoes, stepping into the theater, all of that was home, and I understood it. In fact, I was very grateful that the directors were so collaborative with us. They understood what a beast this project was going to be, in that the film was broken up into segments for 10 directors, knowing that there's not going to be one director that has their eye on the entire arc. So they really empowered each of us actors to communicate with them. And one of those instances for me was with the Shakespeare. Sometimes I'd be doing a scene, I'm like, hey guys, just so you know, I understand for time, we got to keep this scene concise, but can we add these 2 lines back into the Shakespeare monologue, because otherwise the rhythm doesn't make sense. And they were so lovely and wonderful working with us, and Inger had a lot of conversations like that too. So kudos to our directors for really empowering us as actors and trusting us to go on this journey as well.
There was also some great, the character of Macbeth keeps changing as well. And your directors are changing. The character of
Yeah.
Macbeth changes. The actor playing Macbeth. Yeah, you got some really great people too. How about Jeremy Tardy here? Where'd you?
Oh, I love Jeremy. So
He did a
Jeremy and I
wonderful job.
actually worked together on another movie that I was on the crew on, and we just kind of formed a friendship while we were on that movie. And then when I got the script for Voodoo Macbeth and I read it, I was like, Maurice is Jeremy. I have to call him. Jeremy has such a silent, powerful performance in all of his work that he does. He can do so much with just a blink of an eye. It's so unique to see the way he works on screen.
The great character too.
Yeah, great character. And
His
so
enthusiasm for
we
the
had,
work, and then also the kind of like self-doubt that happens, and also the relationships that occur. It's really a
Yeah.
wonderful
yeah,
character
I
to
loved
play.
him. And then he read the script and was like, yes, I want to do this. Please. And so, I mean, he went to Juilliard. He's a big theater person as well.
Yeah.
So he was immediately drawn to the script.
He's also
the
a
fun fact,
genuine to work with.
Did you say a fun
Yeah.
fact too? We're gonna have a
Yeah,
fun fact. All
a
right.
fun fact, the directors actually did a Shakespeare acting class together during the prep that we set up for them with a acting coach that I had when I was in high school
No
in
way.
San Diego. She came up here and did like a 5-hour like Shakespeare intensive with them. And it was intended to make them bond, but also to work more with the language, because some of the directors hadn't worked with Shakespeare before. I mean, most film directors don't work with
Yeah.
Shakespeare on film very often.
Yeah.
So it's a fun little trivia fact about the making of the movie.
USC. I wanted to hear what the experience at USC Film School is, because a lot of people are interested in that. They're thinking, should I go to film school? Should I go to USC Film School? First of all, what was the collaboration? Warner Brothers had something to do with this film as well, right? They're like producers or they helped with the funding in some way. Is there a lot of opportunity at USC to collaborate and maybe get your career kind of moved along faster than maybe if you weren't there, if you didn't go there?
Definitely. I mean, I feel so lucky to have gone to USC. USC has supported me in a lot of my different endeavors. And I mean, just getting this movie was extremely beneficial for my career afterwards. So Warner Brothers came on with a grant for USC to make this movie, and they supported us a lot with our production design department and costume department and some locations, where they helped us work out some amazing deals with them.
Yeah.
And so that really helped us be able to create the world. Without them, it would have been a much smaller production value, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then in terms of USC, I mean, they've really supported a lot of my weird ideas the whole time I was there, which was really nice. Like, I was able to direct an LGBT romantic comedy action adventure Western called
Oh my
Black
God.
Knuckle.
Can we play the trailer of that right now?
Yeah,
I want to
you can
do
play,
that.
yeah.
They had something to do with helping you with this film too, huh? Okay, this is
Yeah, I
called
directed this.
Black Knuckle and the Deputy Maltese. This is your short
Yes.
film. Let's see the trailer of that. Super fun.
Everybody! Black Knuckle is back!
I've gotten real sick of chasing your backside around. This time you'll stay behind bars.
Deputy? Look who's back.
Dark Riders.
I can't keep doing this. And I wouldn't have to if you'd stay going.
Oh, what? Never get to see you again? Not a chance.
Are we almost there yet?
Aw, Jesus, Carl!
Hilarious. I heard it described as Brokeback Mountain without the heartbreak. Is that what it is?
That is how they described it. I think it was the Hollywood Reporter who described it like that.
So cool.
That was an amazing movie to make. I mean, that was my senior thesis at school. That's in their undergrad production senior thesis class.
Yeah.
And, they only choose 4 projects to make a semester. So I was very gracious and lucky to be able to get it. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
to be able to get that movie. And like also I really want to make LGBT epics in my life. That's a big focus of mine with musicals, with westerns. I think it's time for them, and it's very exciting to be able to see those come to life. And so making Black Knuckle and Deputy Maltese was like a baby that once I did it, I was like, oh my God, I'm raising this baby into full movies. Like I cannot wait to continue doing movies like this. And so that's a big portion of my life.
You were in this article in the Hollywood Reporter. This is
Yeah.
really fascinating. There you are, like right there in the middle. Hollywood needs
Like
us.
great
A year in the trenches at America's top film school. So I had a guest on here, S.J. Chiro, who directed a movie up in Seattle that's really great, that just came out. But she said that when she was accepted to USC, she had talked to somebody and they said, well, it's a real boys club there. This was way back in like the early 90s. And so she was like decided that she probably didn't want to go because she was afraid that she'd get sort of marginalized. So I imagine things have changed a lot with USC's film school at this time. And what is this article talking about when they say Hollywood needs you?
Okay, two-pronged question. The first, USC has changed a lot since that time period. I think the industry is changing a lot as a whole, which is thank goodness for that. And now it's like about a 50-50 male-female ratio, which is great and so important. And then in this article, this was kind of funny. So they chose kind of 5 of the top seniors at USC at the time in the undergrad department, 2 production, 1 game design, or 3 production, 1 game design, and 1 writer. And it's funny, Obton, who's wearing that kind of crazy jacket, was my freshman year roommate. And then next to him in the red blouse, Carla was I produced a senior thesis with her, and we're still really close, same with Obton. And so they followed us for an entire year, which was so wild. They were on all of our different
They
sets
followed
with
you
us.
around? The reporters did?
Yeah, one reporter followed us for the whole year, which was extremely stressful at the time.
bet.
I'm like a college student, like trying to produce and direct my senior thesis. Meanwhile, I have the Hollywood Reporter behind my back staring. Like at one set I was on, I was producing it, and this guy had a seizure on set.
Oh my
And
God.
Carla and I were both there, and we're like, this guy's like writing down notes while I'm like calling 911. And it was just a very stressful experience, but he was great. Gary really followed us the whole time and was very nice to us throughout. And I feel very lucky to have been featured in this piece. It was kind of a very surreal moment to open the Hollywood Reporter like print edition and see my face in the centerfold.
Yeah, it's cool.
And so,
so what are you doing now? Like you've made multiple short films, and they're very professional looking. What is the key? Okay, so a lot of people are making films now that maybe weren't able to before because it was so expensive. But what is your advice to filmmakers, like actors who are making their own films, to make it look professional? Because, a lot of times you come up with something and it doesn't quite look, it looks a little bit too like video, you know what I mean? What would you tell people as an advice to help them make something that looks really sharp?
That's a great question. Polish is hard. I mean, it really comes down to really putting the time into it and really caring about all those special details. If you want to make a film, my best advice is make sure you love the content that you're making and don't just make something to make something. Because I think, like each piece of film that you make is a part of you and it is an art form that you're like putting out into the world. And if you love it and really care about it and spend time with it, then you can make something really special and polished. But if you're just trying to do it to get to the next step and be done with it, then it will never end up having that polish because the level of care isn't there.
That makes sense.
So
you said that about detail. Detail is super important. And here's the poster. And you and Jewell were both talking about this. The poster for Voodoo Macbeth. And you were saying that there's detail in this poster that maybe people won't even notice, but there's actual... Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, if you zoom in on the poster, you actually get to see Orson's handwriting crossing out different parts of the script and doing little notes throughout. I mean, detail is the name of the game, in my opinion. And so it's like even those little shadows and highlights make it different in the overall graphic design aesthetic of the piece. A designer named Brandon Winters did this, and he's truly brilliant. And so, but I think that's like with all of my projects in particular, like I'm an extremely detail-oriented person, and I like to make movies where when I rewatch, I see something new that I didn't even know that I did sometimes, not just for other people to watch. Like I have to stay interested in the products that I'm making too. And so, yeah, detail is everything. You can really feel it. Yeah, some inside stuff there.
Inside stuff. This is all real inside stuff. That's cool. How about you, Jewell? What are you doing next, or what are your goals for yourself? I know this is kind of a big question, but as actors, we kind of have to, do you think as an actor, you have to like set a goal, and how do you set goals, and how do you put things out into the future for them to sort of manifest?
Yeah, I've learned, and this is a nice thing for any person in their life, whether you're an actor, an artist, or in a completely different field. I've learned to get specific with your goals and your desires.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I used to fall into the actor trap of, oh, I would just be happy making money doing what I love.
Yeah.
Which is great, but it's a cop-out. And it's a cop-out because you're afraid. You're afraid to say, this is what I want, or this is what I'm going after, because you think that either you don't deserve it or you can't achieve it. Or like if you let this dream out, the universe will say, no, this won't happen. So I have learned as I've gotten older through my journey, like being very specific. In fact, something really cool, the year when I booked this, I'd made a list of future goals for myself. And one of them was the lead in an indie feature. And then I booked this and I was like, okay, well, if this isn't an indie feature, then I don't know what is. And it also like, I was like, I want to do a period drama. I got to do a period drama. So to answer your question, some other goals that I want to be in the future, I'm a big nerd and I really want to be in like a hit, like sci-fi fantasy series.
Oh yeah.
Something on like Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time out on Amazon Prime. That is something that being able to wave my hands around in like handography while on horseback would just thrill me to no end.
What's handography? What's the handography?
Handography. Anything where, okay, like a director comes up to me and is like, okay, so we're going to figure this all out in CGI post, but this is what we're doing. So we want you to do this, but no, something's going to be happening. But you
choreography for the hand.
And I can just look at them and being like, I got this. I have been talking to myself and daydreaming since I was 5. I've got this. Let's go. And the idea of being able to act in front of a green screen is like #goals. It seems silly, but that is something that I really want to do one day. And I'd love to do some more period dramas, some more like family dramas. I love any story that gets to the meat of who we are and why we are. And I just was really lucky that for my freshman film, I got to be in this incredible cast and tell this incredible story. I am grateful every day, and I know how fortunate and privileged I am to be part of this amazing team.
That's cool.
Jewell also is an amazing composer, and the two of us are actually writing a musical right now together, which we can't really say too much about yet, but we are very excited for it. So for the audiences watching this, know a musical is coming.
Oh, that's great.
And we are very excited. So if you like dark comedy musicals, you will love this.
Like Sweeney Todd or what? Like
I would say it's Book of Mormon meets The Producers, more in that kind
I remember
of
when
world.
I was in Chicago years ago, they had Manson the musical. Have you ever heard of Manson the musical?
Ooh.
That was pretty intense.
You know,
dark,
I
dark musical comedy.
Some subject matter does not lend itself well to musical theater.
It was very, very popular. Very popular. They were the people that did the real life Brady Bunch. They were the ones that they would stage episodes of the Brady Bunch. It was called the Annoyance Theater, and they had lines around the block. It was really popular. Yeah, Manson the musical. They would hand out little tabs of acid at the beginning. Not real, but maybe.
Who knows?
Anyway, yeah, super fun. All right, well, thanks to both of you for being on the show. This has been really fun, and you're going around doing the film festivals now. That's where we saw you at the Ojai Film Festival, both of you. Kamala and I were up there. Kamala was speaking, and we were like having brunch, and just really, really delightful to see you there. Are you having fun doing the film circuits? Because the film festivals are a blast, right? Super.
Oh yeah, we've traveled all across the US and it's been so exciting. Like meeting all these amazing people, hearing audiences react to the film, talking about the movie. It's really such a gift. And like Joel, thank you so much for having us here today. It means so much to both of us and the entire movie. We just want more people to see the movie and to afterwards go home and look up more about the Federal Theater Project, Rose McClendon, and all these actors that took place in this movie. So
I have a few posters
Coming
here.
out of and
Go ahead.
Coming out of the pandemic, it was such a thrill to be able to share this thing that we created. At the beginning of the pandemic, we weren't able to go to a lot of festivals in person. But then as things opened up, we were able to do them in person, but actually be able to hear people in the audience watching our movie, reacting to that movie. So it really has been a gift for us to be able to tour around and be able to experience other people discovering our art. And I completely agree. Please go and learn more about this project, learn more about the Federal Theater Project, Voodoo Macbeth, Rose McClendon, all these incredible people. I hope it inspires people to learn more about this story.
Todd says, how do we see the movie? Of course, it's in the situation where it's at the film festival. So if it comes to a film festival, maybe Seattle Film Festival where Todd is, hopefully they'll be able to see it. Jay Patterson, maybe it'll come to a festival near you. They want to do an online screening, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that because you haven't gotten distribution yet. Film, movie, tomato, potato. We could talk all day about what's a film, what's a movie. I'm sure. Fly American. Oh, I just want to show a couple posters from the Federal Theater Project. They had like a third of a nation. They used to do these things called. They had a play about syphilis called Spirochete. There you go. That's maybe a dark musical. I don't know. They had a thing called the Living Newspaper where they would do plays based on the news, sort of a pre-Jon Stewart kind of thing, I guess. And they had a bunch of those. Anyway, super interesting thing to look into. But now we're going to dance it out because I've got one of my favorites, Fernando Ufret. He's playing a Beatles song. Have you seen the new Beatles series that's out? It's really good. It's Peter Jackson. It's them. It's Peter Jackson took all the footage from the final album that the Beatles made. It was a film. They were making it into a film, and the footage has just been sitting away in this vault for a long time. And so Peter Jackson went in there, got all the footage, restored it. It's almost like you're there. And so this is a Beatles song written by George Harrison that is now going to be played by Fernando Ufret. So here we go. We're going to dance it out, and I'll see you all on the film festival circuit, I suppose. But thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Join me in the dance. Here he is, Fernando. And here, my guys.
Something in the way.
Got some hand choreography. It's all hand dancing.
Attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way.
Fernando, he's awesome.
She woos me. I don't want to leave her now.
George Harrison didn't write that many songs, but this is one of the best.
Somewhere in her smile, she knows that I don't need no other lover. Something in her style that shows me I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. You're asking me, will my love grow? Well, I don't know. I don't know. You stick around, now it may show. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Got the solo.
Love a good solo.
That's We'll see you all
Bye.
later. He doesn't drive.